For as long as we've been telling stories, we have dreamt of this one thing: being able to talk to animals, right? To finally understand what they're thinking, what they're feeling, to bridge that massive gap between our species. And what's absolutely wild is that this age-old fantasy, well, it's right on the verge of becoming a scientific reality. I mean, come on, who hasn't? You're looking at your dog or your cat, and you just desperately want to know what is going on in that little head of theirs. What are you really trying to tell me with that bark or that meow? And get this, that's not some sci-fi exaggeration. Researchers in the field are saying that because of how fast AI is developing, we could very soon be living in a world where we can talk to animals. And, this is the kicker, they can talk back. And look, we're not talking about some fringe idea here. This is being chased by serious, well-funded organizations. You've got nonprofits like the Interspecies Project and the Cetacean Translation Initiative training these huge AI models on animal sounds. And even tech giants like Baidu, think of them as China's Google, are patenting systems to do this. Okay, so how in the world does this actually work? How do you teach a machine to understand a whale or a bird or a bat? Well, the secret is in teaching the AI how to listen in a whole new way. Let's start with an animal we all know pretty well. There's a study at the University of Michigan where researchers are building AI tools that can literally listen to a dog's bark and figure out the emotion behind it. Is that a happy, playful yip, or is it an aggressive, warning growl? But here's where it gets really, really clever. The single biggest problem in this field is getting enough data. I mean, it's incredibly hard to record thousands of hours of clean audio from, say, just one type of whale. So, researchers had this brilliant idea. What if we take the AI models that are already experts in human speech and just repurpose them? These models already know how to pick up on tone, pitch, and accent. Turns out, that's an amazing head start for decoding animal sounds. So, how well did it work? That repurposed human speech model got up to 70% accuracy in classifying different dog barks. And here's the really interesting part. It actually did better than models that were trained only on dog barks from the very beginning. How cool is that? So it's really important to get this. Scientists aren't trying to build a Google Translate for animal words. What they're really trying to decode is something called an affective state. It's basically the scientific term for an animal's inner emotional world. Everything from a quick flash of fear to a long-term feeling of being safe and content. And this is a great way to visualize it. They map these affective states on two simple axes. First, you have arousal. That's just the intensity of the feeling, from super calm to really excited. Then you've got valence. That's whether the feeling is positive, like joy, or negative, like fear. The AI's job is to listen to a sound and place it somewhere on this emotional map. Okay, but this is where things get a lot more complicated. As exciting as all this tech is, it forces us to step back and ask a much, much deeper question. What does it actually mean to understand another species? I mean, we've known for a while that animal sounds aren't just random noises. They can be incredibly sophisticated. For instance, there's research suggesting elephants might use specific rumbles for each other that act like names. And vervet monkeys, they have totally different alarm calls for leopards versus eagles versus snakes, and each call makes the monkeys react in a different, specific way. So yeah, an AI might be able to spot patterns in a whale song and spit out the word lonely. But is that really what the whale is feeling? Or is that just the closest human label we have for a complex, alien experience that we can't possibly imagine? And there's a huge difference between the two. AI translation is all about finding patterns and squeezing them into our human-sized boxes. But true understanding, well, that's something else entirely. It's about acknowledging a completely different way of being. It's recognizing that the meaning of a sound comes from the lived experience of being a bat or being a dolphin, and that's something an algorithm just can't fully grasp. This quote really nails the problem. When an AI takes a dog's bark and labels it playful, it's basically reorganizing that animal's reality to fit neatly into ours. The real danger here is that we're not actually listening to them. We might just be listening to an echo of ourselves. And that brings us to the really heavy part of this whole thing. What happens when the animals finally answer back? What are the massive ethical consequences of actually opening that door? Seriously, think about that. Right now, under the law, most animals are considered property. But what if a pig in a factory farm could clearly communicate, "I'm in pain"?
Suddenly ignoring their suffering becomes a lot harder, maybe even legally impossible. This kind of direct communication could force us to give them new rights, maybe even some version of legal personhood.
But here's the scary flip side to that coin. What if we can translate what dolphins are saying, but we can't figure out octopuses? Do we start to value the animals we can talk to more than the ones who stay a mystery? We could accidentally create this awful new hierarchy where an animal's moral worth depends on how easily our technology can read its mind.
So it really all boils down to this. If an animal can say no, we suddenly have a profound new responsibility. We have to be ready to hear that answer and to respect it. Our entire relationship has to shift from one where we just do what we want to one where we have to consider their consent.
And just stop and think for a second about how radical that would be. Right now, we pretty much do whatever we want. As this quote says, we don't ask for permission before we do experiments on them or transport them or breed them. The very idea of needing to ask for consent, that would completely upend our society as we know it.
So before this technology is everywhere, we have to face the consequences head on. Because a tool this powerful, well, it can be used for incredible good, but it can also be used for immense harm. The same exact algorithms we use to understand animals could be used to track them for poachers. A system that's designed to detect distress could be twisted to hide suffering on factory farms. You could manipulate animal sounds for tourism, or even turn their voices into a product, with corporations owning and selling the data of what a species has to say. And that's exactly why ethicists are sounding the alarm, saying we need to put clear rules in place right now, before this stuff hits the market. They're proposing guidelines that mix the best ideas from AI ethics and animal ethics. Things like, first and foremost, do no harm. Act for the animal's benefit, not just our own curiosity, and respect their autonomy, which means an animal should always have the right to just walk away and stop talking to us. Because ultimately, this isn't about the technology. AI is just a mirror. It's not good or bad on its own. It's just going to reflect our own intentions back at us. So the real question is about us. Are we doing this with humility, with a genuine desire to treat animals as equals, or is this all just about curiosity, control, and profit? Which leaves us with the final and maybe the most important question of all. The technology will soon be there. We will have the ability to have this conversation. But knowing everything we now know, the philosophical traps, the ethical nightmares, the potential for misuse, we have to ask ourselves, even if we can talk to the animals, should we?